It wouldn't be the man of the hour if you didn't bring in the man of the hour, Steve Stern with the flag shirt store. You know him there because he's always dressed up like the American flag, but he has been the stalwart in election integrity and getting people on the ground in a precinct committee strategy. Steve, always good to see you. And I know you've got a big meeting coming up on Thursday, trying to get at least 20,000 people on this call for election integrity to get Americans galvanized into their civic duty. Tell us what is happening.
So we're going to have this meeting at 3:25 Thursday Eastern Time. If you'd like to get on this meeting, and we've already signed up thousands of people, go on the bottom, look at my email, stern1054@gmail.com, and we will send you a link. Send me a little note that you want to get on. We only try to get on people that we want to get on. So if we don't want Democrats talking about it, we don't want to get them on because they're the ones that are creating this problem. So we're going to have and we've had this going on. Let me tell you how we started this thing, because people don't even realize and how we got to the point we're at now. So right behind you see me a little picture with President Trump and myself. And about 2 years ago, I went up there to ask him to talk about getting people on and at his rallies talking about precinct strategy. He said he would do that. And then he started talking about it. And it was funny because the other day I was sitting with my grandson who was up there with me. He says, yeah, we went up there, but President Trump was on his phone half of the time he was talking to you. He was kind of like picking up the phone because this was a couple of days before the last election. And he actually endorsed one of my candidates, which I thought was terrific, 2 days before an election. So he started talking about what I thought about whether he could win on this next election, because a couple of years before that, he said if he knew about precinct strategy before I told him about it, he would have won the last election. So we talked about the election security thing, and he said, you ought to do a Zoom or something about election integrity because you're doing the precinct strategy. So we molded them both together about 2 years ago. And the first time we had about 50 people on. And it's evolved to about 2 months ago when I was on Steve Bannon. And he says, Steve, we're going to put this on live on Getter. Well, I never thought to put it on live. And at that point, he got me on the call. When I was on his call, we had 1,000 people signed up. Well, it took me, because it was a Thursday morning, and it took me from when I was on a show, I never had lunch, to 3:20 to get all the people on the call. And so then I said to myself, well, wait a minute, this is unbelievable. And, he told me, Captain Bannon told me we had 10,000 people on the call. And I said to myself, why didn't I think about this all the time? So as an older guy, 83 next Monday, you got to
Happy
learn.
birthday early. I'm a June baby. Coming right behind you. Go on.
So you got to learn something every day. So this week coming up, we have Cleta Mitchell on, she has a group called Who's Counting. We got Garland Favorino, him from Georgia. He's going to talk about Georgia lawsuits. We got Colonel John Mills on from Virginia. He's going to talk about his 3-point.
Love John Mills.
How to get illegals off the voter rolls. We're going to have Greg Stenstrom, who was on last time, and everybody wanted to bring him back because he's terrific in Pennsylvania. He's putting us together with tons of people in Pennsylvania, and he's one of the few guys that are working round the clock in Pennsylvania to straighten Pennsylvania out. Then we have Hayden Ludwig, who's a writer, and he's going to be talking about the voter rolls, how to get people off the voter rolls that shouldn't be on there. We're going to have Dennis Schechter, who's going to talk about head counts, because we all talk about getting rid of the machines. He's going to talk about that. We're going to have Deb Monks talking about voter rolls also. And then we're going to have a special guest, which I'm not available to tell you yet, but you'll come on and you'll see some really great star coming on who we've been trying to get for 2 years to get on our meeting. So why people are starting to come on, and I also invited many people on that want to get on the next time. We could only get a certain amount of people on it. And what we want to let everybody know, the most important thing right now is getting the illegals off the voter rolls. And it's very funny. Just this morning, one of my good friends in South Dakota told me a story that we all want to tell our people because it all intertwines with what we're doing. He's in this apartment building, and he's paying $600 a month. He's being evicted, 30 days evicted, so they can put in illegals into this particular apartments. And this billionaire, who's a leftist, and he happened to be in Fort Lauderdale, is going to pay these people the minimum of $12 an hour now, and he's knocking everybody out of the apartment buildings and putting these people in at $400, which is about $1,600 under the rate. So we know what they're doing. They're bringing the illegals in from all over. I'm in Fort Lauderdale, in Miami alone. They're bringing 400 in, flying them in. They don't even have to. So they're flying them in Oh, you've been down in Panama and all these places knowing it. So
Yeah.
why doesn't the American public wake up? I mean, this is what we're trying to do. We're going to be on every show telling people to get involved in this thing, and we're going to be starting the word out. And one of the things you want to do, we have a guy in South Carolina. His name is Jeff Davis and his wife, Olga, and they have something called myscgop.com. I want everybody to go to that. It's myscgop.com. What that is a newsletter that he and his wife get out every day, 365 days a year. And it tells everybody what's going on. So I've been on every program telling we need to get people in every state to do this. Because let's say, Ann, you tell me something on today's show and we want to get it out, boom, we get this out. And if we had 10 to 20,000 people in every state, imagine what we could do. So getting this done, this would be one of the most important things. So if you're a writer in any state, and we're going to talk about some of these people that can help, you can see on the screen what can happen. I mean, they get stuff out every day, and people call me all the time, said, hey, I saw this on mysocgop.com, even though I'm not in South Carolina. And this is very important. And another important thing that we have a girl, Elizabeth Nader, who works with Spadia, the radio host, and she's in New Jersey, big blue state, and they have a club called Common Sense Club. So if you could get that up and find it, Common Sense Club in New Jersey. And the great thing about that is they started about a year ago, and she's on our team with about 20, 30 people. They have 145,000 people on this right now. So 145,000 people can imagine what they can do every day. And there he is. He's going to be probably running for governor, and I'm supporting him for New Jersey. And I believe the governorship is in 2026. So he has a big voice. I saw him on Newsmax yesterday, and we watch all these people. And these are the things that people don't know about. So we need to get a voice. We need to get on every show to let everybody know what's going on. And one of the most important things, which I do, is precinct strategy. So President Trump endorsed that through Liz Harrington. And we're going to show you what precinct strategy does and what it can do. And what is precinct strategy? So as soon as you get up that screen, we'll bring up precinct strategy. I don't know if you can see this. This is Dan Schultz's book. And we bring this up because if anybody wants to get involved in precinct strategy, go
That's
to
strange. Why did it bring that up?
www.precinctstrategy.com. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's what I typed in, and it brought up some sort of an advertisement for Range Rovers or something. I didn't put that in there.
www.precinctstrategy.com.
Yeah, look at it. It keeps trying to send me somewhere else, Steve. That's crazy.
Oh, maybe we're being brought in by the Chinese that they're bringing that stuff up. So
maybe precinctstrategy.com. Yeah.
Up there.
It's redirecting me again. This is really crazy. All right. Well, I'm going to stop sharing. I'll try and pull it up.
So let's look at it here. If you go to www.precinctstrategy.com, that's Dan Schultz's book. And how did I get involved in precinct strategy? Well, I'm the vice chair of the Broward Republican Executive Committee. I've been there for 20 years. And the funny part about it is 20 years ago when I got involved, what happened was it took 3 months before somebody called me back. I said, what is this? I want to volunteer my time. Nobody called. Took 3 months before they got me an application. It took me another 2 months till I got in, and I went to my first meeting 8 months later, and I sat down, and not a person said hello to me or got involved. Went to the next meeting, same thing happened. And I said to myself, wait a minute, there's something wrong with this process. So I went to the chairman. I said, hey, can I become the membership director? And also, can I get to your phones because nobody seems to be answering? She said, sure, we need help. So I got to the phones. There was 186 messages. I called everybody, apologized that the person got sick and didn't do it, blah, blah, blah. And we got 36 new members just from people that call. So you can imagine all over the United States, this happens all the time. People call up, they call me all the time. I'm trying to get a hold of my person. So see, this is a new website, Precinct Strategy. Dan Schultz started with this 14 years ago with Steve Bannon. And what happened was that when I got on, I saw Dan Schultz on Steve Bannon about 3 years ago. I called him up and he said, you've got a great success story here in Broward, because I had gotten 155 new members and we raised ourselves to about 300 members. So I got on there, and a funny thing happened on the show because, you're a TV host, and they said I'd be on at 10:15. So I got up about 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm writing all these notes to myself because who the heck knew what I was going to say, and you didn't want to say the wrong thing. So I get on 10:15 on Skype, and I'm sitting there, and they're texting me, hey, you're going to get on 10:45, but stay on. So 10:30, 10:45 goes on. Boom, you're on at 11 o'clock. They text me. Or 11 o'clock goes on. I'm waiting. Well, here I'm sweating because, you're waiting an hour to get on and, you don't know what you're going to say. Maybe you'll never get on. So it turns out about 11:50, they finally got me on. And here I probably lost 5 pounds of sweat but I did a great job because I guess I memorized it so much from waiting all that time to get on. It worked out very good. And Cameron, his producer, called me a couple weeks later, said, hey, we'd like to have you on. And I've been on there a lot of times because we're getting people together and we're getting
That's
them
right.
in.
You're a Bannon favorite. You're a War Room Posse favorite for sure.
Here's the problem. We have 400,000 slots in the Republican Party. And when we started, there was 190,000 people involved. Now there's 200,000 people involved. People would say, hey, that's great. That's terrible. We got 60 million Republican voters and we only have 200,000 people involved.
I agree.
I started getting on everybody's show. And just recently, in the last couple of months, we see a lot of stuff happening. One of the things that I did, I got on Moms for America. And this Moms for America has 500,000 members. And we talked about how they can get their people involved. And if you see, they sent a flyer out and they had me on their podcast. And we got a lot of people from Moms for America involved. And with their 500,000 people, they can do a lot of good. There's a lot of people out there that have organizations, such as our favorite, my friend, the Pillow Guy. He's got 300,000. Mike Lindell is very close to us. And
he's fantastic. We love Mike.
1,000 people. So we share the people because they've got to get involved also, because a lot of these people, even though they're working, they come on, they watch podcasts, they go home and go to sleep. And also when President Trump has his different rallies, and you saw the other day he had 80,000 people involved, and he asked people to get involved. So what they've done, they've gone and asked people to go to Protect the Vote. So I want to tell you, Protect the Vote is very important because that's how we get poll watchers and poll workers. And this is the RNC. Now, I got to tell you something. This is the first time the RNC has actually reached out to me. When Ronna McDaniel was there, she would never return the call. I mean, I called, nobody from her staff would ever return a call. So Christina Robb and Christina Norton have worked with me, and through some of the other people that have put me in touch with them, they are working very hard in getting poll watchers and poll workers. They want another 60,000 poll watchers and poll workers this year, and they're doing very good. People are stepping up. Now, I think it's great to have poll watchers and poll workers, but let's talk about getting, the Democrats want to put all these illegals on the voter rolls. And we know this is happening because you hear stories. And how they're doing this for your public and the people listening to you is that they are bringing the people in, and both through air, through sea, through walking in through the northern border, the southern border. Then they go to with the NGOs. The NGOs take them over to get a driver's license. So when you get a driver's license, you can apply to vote and get a registration. You also get, when you come in, you get a social security number. So you can go on with the last 4 digits social security number and register to vote, which is probably illegal. And when you register, they just check a little thing saying, I'm an American citizen. And why do they do that? Because the NGOs tell them, well, they'll never catch you, number one. If they do, just tell them you didn't know what you were signing. You were told to sign this, so you did it. So there's a big problem, because we just found out, and I think Marjorie Greene was on the other day telling, just in Georgia, 13,000 new Democrats just signed up, 500 Republicans. Well, how did they get 13,000 Democrats to sign up? Very simply, NGOs got them to get these to register, and they're not going to vote, because what they do, not only they're not in Georgia, but they take them and they shift them over to Montana. They shift them over to Illinois. They shift them over to Florida. They shift them over to different places. So they're continually shifting illegals off the way, because there's no way to put them. They got to find other states to put them in. And the government is building these areas. They're taking your money. They're getting hotels that are empty, and they're putting them in hotels. And think about this. We have veterans, and I know you work with the veterans, that are out there on the streets with no money. When an illegal comes in, they get about $2,800. They get free schooling, free housing, free medical care. Can you imagine what that adds up for 14 million illegals that have already come in already, plus 175,000 that don't even know where they're at? And one of the things that they told me, I have this Stern American, which is a big thing that we have our podcast. and we started interviewing people. And I think this is going to be very important for everybody to know. And I want everybody to go there because not only can you sign up for our Zoom meeting on Thursday, but you can go and get there and we will be live on Stern American. So anybody who can't get on a Zoom because you can only get 1,500 people on Zoom, we could have over 30, 40,000 people coming in. So you got to go to these different platforms to get on. So Stern American, I started, and you were one of the first people that I interviewed down at Play Clocks. And
I remember down in Miami.
Right. So we started doing that for fun. And all of a sudden, a girl, because every time I'm on Bannon, people call me. And a girl called me from California, Tina Celine, who's a wonderful person, who I cannot tell you, if we had more people like her, we could save this country. So what she did, she said, hey, Steve, can you turn California red? And I said, hey, I'm good, but I'm not that good. So I said, let's try. I said, we never give up on anything. So what happened was she got me 10 people, then 20, then 50, then 100, then 1,000. Now we have 10,000 people in California. And I started interviewing these people, and you could see a lot of these interviews. A lot of the candidates in California we started interviewing. And during these interviews, we learned a lot. And, so the nice thing is I can be interviewed and I can interview people and I get a lot of information both ways. And we learned about these candidates, what they're doing and how we can help them. So we're helping candidates all over the country. And Tina, who, we have 1, 2, 5, 100 in each state. And why would it need people in every state? 1, to start sending these newsletters out. 2, to get the communication out. So we have terrific people. And I want to tell you about some of them because this is so important. We have a girl in Massachusetts. And her name is Sue O'Sullivan. We call her Chainsaw Sue. She started 60 town committees. Can you think about this? 60 town committees. Why did she start them? There weren't any town committees in Massachusetts, maybe 5 or 6. So right. She started getting involved, and now she's a state committee woman. And what happened was we had a guy in Massachusetts, my friend from South Dakota got me involved with him, Jeff Cooter. I don't know if you know him. He's on WRKO AM 680 radio. I'm going to be there on Wednesday morning. He's got 65,000 people listening. He's already been talking about this. So now we have a voice. If we can get a voice in every state, then we can get people involved. People listen to radio, they watch TV, they watch podcasts. There's so many podcasts out there. You could be on podcasts, and you know this, from morning to night, and you won't get to them in 100 years. There's so many people, but everybody has a voice. And I don't care if you have one person or you got a million. It doesn't matter. You ask me, I'll be there because we got to get the message out. So again, some of the people that we got that are very important, Connecticut. Let's take Connecticut. We found a guy, and I became very friendly. His name is Dominic Lombardi. He's 20 years old. He just became the youngest chair in Connecticut history. And he's so good. He had dinner with President Trump here about 2 months ago. Then he came down to our event where your husband played golf. We were in an event with a number of people. And what we did there, it was a fundraiser for the Broward Republican Executive Committee. We had a golf event. We had a speaking event. And while they were playing golf, we had 50 people, one from every state, talk about what's going on in each state and how you can get involved. So Connecticut, we had Linda on there, and she did a terrific job. And we had Dominic on there. And again, Dominic, he is doing such a great job. It's unbelievable. And, he's 20 years old. So why is it important to have a 20-year-old guy here in the Republican Party? Because most of the people my age between 60 and 90. And yes, we do have 90-year-olds in there. And I'm actually celebrating my 83rd birthday next Monday, which you wish me a happy birthday. But another thing is happening. We're having a big party in my company, and Steve Bannon said he's going to bring this live because it's our 70th anniversary in business. The flagshirt.com is celebrating their 70th anniversary. Now, I started when I was 12 years old in business. And if I would have started 12 years old in politics, I would have changed this country. But I had to start only 20 years ago. And I've done a lot of things in the 20 years. But every day you find something new out. So back to Connecticut, why I love Linda Sinkowitz. She has fightvoterfraud.org. She's the only one that I know that's taking individual people off the voter rolls. She's going to court with every person, big organization. She, last week or the week before, had a big press conference. They got a number of people that had arrest warrants for stacking the ballots, putting them in the ballots 20, 30, 40 times, voting 3, 4 times. The police wouldn't arrest them. So she had to go to the Supreme Court, or cases up there in Supreme Court in Connecticut, in trying to get these people arrested, because we know there are a lot of people voting more than one time. And how do we know this? Because in New Hampshire, Vermont, Connecticut, those areas, a lot of people have houses in New York and they come up and they vote in both places. Now, she's starting to prove that. And if we can get people to get arrested, and maybe people around the country won't do it, because if you take Nevada, we have this going on like crazy. And you saw them bring a truck out in their last election, pulling ballots out. And we've seen this all over the United States. And it's funny how nothing is happening. You know, we've seen so much of this happening. Another thing, when I saw President Trump back there, I said, you know, he said, what do you think about the next election? I said, well, if we don't change these things, then how are we going to have any different election than we had last time? And you could
That's
see
right.
that because Biden is not campaigning. He's got nothing going on, except he knows that he's going to stack the votes and what he's going to do. So we have to
Right.
have people, like I said, in every state. And I know we don't have a lot of time, but we'll go through a couple more people that are in the states that are really helping us. And in Alabama, it took me a long time. You would think Alabama's a great area, but they had rhinos and establishment people. And I finally got a girl, Jill Howell, who brought me in 50, 60 new people who are MAGA. And now they got a voice, because it was always the establishment people who were taking over. So that's great important. So we have a great guy in Nevada, Paul Bodine. When I was out there at Clay Clark's event some time ago, probably a year ago, you lose the track of time. He had a booth out there, and I learned something because I started interviewing the people, and they were coming up and they said, well, we didn't know there was a Republican organization here. We knew there's a Republican Party, but we didn't know how to get involved. And she started signing up people like left and right. So I said, wait a minute, we better do this when I go to Miami. And we did. We set up a booth in Miami at Clay Clark, and we signed up 400 people. So we telling everybody, these are some of the things we got to get out. You go to a gun show, register people, because those are all Republicans. So we learned something from every state. We got a guy in Michigan. You know, Michigan's having a lot of problem with the Republican Party. Joe Welch,
Yeah.
he got 1,000 people involved. Phenomenal. Robert West in Texas. He's got the 5-star plan. He's like Dan Schultz. He's got a book out there. I'm going to put this a little closer so you can see it. Very important. The 5-star plan. And why I love him so much is because he drove 8 hours to speak to 16 people, the same thing that I would do. Those 16 people could turn into millions of people. And that's what we got to do in every state. So you see why it's important to have people in each state. In Minnesota, we have David Penn. He's got his own tire company. He's got his own podcast. He's got his people on Rav. He's got his people on Getter. So we're putting people everywhere to get the word out. On New York, we got Kelly Statinga. She's doing a phenomenal job. Again, MAGA people stepping up. Ohio,
Yeah.
we got the broadband. So I could go on forever, but let you ask a couple of questions.
So Steve, I just want to get the clarity. Thursday, what time is the call? How do people sign up?
3:20. You go to sstern1054 Gmail. You send me a note, and I will send you the link, and the link gets you show.
Is this first come, first serve? Do you have a cap on the call?
No, we don't have a cap on the call. The thing is, we tell them, if it backs off on the 1500, go to all these live places. But we usually cap it off, and everybody else goes live on Getter. They go live on Stern American. They go live on X. It'll be live everywhere. So that's something important. And one of the things we're going to be
And to follow you on X, what is the account name for people to follow you on X?
No, I don't even know. So I think it's at STE. We'll have to look it up.
I think you have an account, the Stern American. It's at Stern American on X, at Stern American.
But one of the important things we're going to be talking about on this call, and we'll try to get this up and we'll try to send it to you. These are the states and the counties that are going to make a difference in the next election. Seth Kessel had this up on one of our calls, and it's so important. In Pennsylvania, let's just take one state: Pennsylvania, Allegheny, Erie, Berks, Philadelphia, Montgomery, York. We need these people to step up. It's so important to step up for this, that it's very important. Any other questions? I know we only got a couple of minutes left, and I can talk, that for about an hour. So
I know, no, you're a wealth of information, Steve, and you're enthusiastic. You've got more energy than most people I know, half your age or even less than half your age, because you're a determined patriot and you are going to help be a massive contributing reason for why we save America. President Trump was right to advise you and counsel you and to go in this direction, and you have mastered this. Listen, if folks want to follow you, they can follow you on Stern American. If they want to be involved, they just need to send you an email at the email address you see on the bottom of the screen. If they want to call you, Steve, what's the best number?
954-318-6902. We'll put that up. 954-318-6902. You go to the flag shirt, you can get me there. One of the things I got to tell you, and I just sent a note to President Trump, trying to come to my birthday. I'm not going to read this, but just want to show you a nice letter I got for President Trump.
Oh, that's great.
81st birthday. It's, one of these things that you want to keep forever and love it. And, you don't get a chance to get a letter from the president. And how that happened, Liz Harrington saw me on one of the shows and she told the president, this guy means business. And, I've had numerous conversations with him. And, it's a rough thing because we want to talk about President Trump here 2 minutes because I have never, I work hard, but this man, and he is a calm guy, going through what he's going through and not getting the backing of the United States. I mean, there should have been 1 million people in New York City at this trial, raising holy heck, peacefully.
I agree.
And telling everyone this should never happen. We should have millions calling our congressman. That's one of the things we're going to try to do. We're going to have to try to get, by having one person in every state with a voice, we can get 1 million people to call their congressman on things that we need to do. Not everything, but something like closing the border, because you can't have 16, 20 million people coming in. And one of the things I got to tell you, there are cities in California, you don't even know about it, we have 175,000 Chinese people come into this country, maybe more. And they are living in a lot of California areas where they don't even speak English. And one of my people who ran for office went there knocking on doors, said, we don't speak English. So you can find these things happening. And one of the things I want to get everybody to find out, because you and I haven't done this yet, we need to find out where all these illegals are. And instead of talking about the border, let's start going in on where these people are living, what they're doing. So we're going to know what's going to happen when this thing happens. And what's going to happen when they take down our phones, when they take down
That's right.
I mean,
no, listen, it's been reported. I put a tweet out this morning. You got Jim Ferguson, who was breaking the news over in Ireland that the mass numbers of illegal migrants that are pouring into their countries are in fact UN soldiers. And I can tell you unequivocally, with what Michael Yon, myself, the Epoch Times, Laura Loomer, Chris Martinson, Brett Weinstein, Oscar Blue, Ben Bergwam, we've all seen the military-age men from state sponsors of terror coming through the Darien Gap and pouring across our southern border from California to Texas. And they're also coming through the northern border. The Chinese are up there as well. And they are building the UN army inside our country, because I can assure you that when the WHO passes their pandemic treaty and their international health regulations that Biden has already basically signed our sovereignty over to them anyway under the 2022 National Defense Authorization Act, we're going to have a riot here when they try to lock us down next time with their bird flu and whatever else they've manufactured in their little sick laboratories, wherever they are in the dark corners of the world. And I'm telling you right now, that UN army is here, and they're going to be literally handing weapons over to these military-age men that are not citizens of this country, including I have whistleblowers inside the military that are telling me with no doubts, total certainty, we have military entrance processing stations, MEPS, stations set up next to the Customs and Border Protection stations as they process people across the border. You go to Catholic Charities, you go to MEPS, and we'll sort you out for a job in the military so you can get your path to citizenship. This is our government. This is what's happening. We didn't elect these people. These are agencies that are effectuating and basically destroying the sovereignty of our country, Steve. So it's critical what you talk about. We've got to get control of our elections and get rid of these freaking criminals.
100%. And I got to say, I do a lot, but you do more. I know you've been down in
No. It's a team effort, brother. We all are doing what our God has gifted us to do. And if we just do what God has given us of our gifts, we will save America. We just have to people have to decide to get off their ass and do it. Period. That's it.
We always end with action, action, action.
Action. Steve Stern, action. I love it. Steve, always great to have you on. Folks, you can follow him. You see his email, his phone number. Please give him a call, send him an email. The man is unstoppable. And so can we. We can save America, but we just have to act. We have precious little time left. This is not that proverbial, this is the last election. It is the last election, because after this, it'll be communism. And that's exactly what we're headed towards, global governance. And we're going to submit the sovereignty to the Marxists over at the WHO and the criminal cabal at the United Nations that literally could care less about human rights, despite all their grandstanding over said human rights. All right, Steve Stern, thank you as always. I appreciate your time. Hey guys, are you ready to fire BlackRock and Vanguard and get the demons that are spying on you through your television viewing out of your living room? Well, enter CUESTREAMING. Go to free7777.mycuestreaming.com and you can fire XFINITY, Comcast. You can fire AT&T. You can fire Verizon. You can stop with the ankle-biting charges at Hulu and Apple and Amazon and Fire and all the different streaming services that charge you a la carte, including Netflix. That's right. CUESTREAMING offers you the life. I'm saying they offer it all under one roof. You can get your mainstream media, Fox News, MSDNC, all the horrific fake news channels. You can get your sports channels, your movie channels, Cinemax, Showtime, HBO, etc. You can even get local network stations in all the major cities around the country, ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, from city to city. But you can also get your favorite podcasters, and you can also get all your favorite movies. So if you like to Netflix and chill, well, they're all here on CUESTREAMING. Go to free7777.mycuestreaming.com. 7777mycuestreaming.com. Check this out. This is just to give you a little bit of an idea on some of their live TV channels, and they have them broken down by categories. That's right. They've got, you can favorite your channels too. You've got entertainment, all your favorite channels there. Animal Planet. I love that channel, actually. I will watch that from time to time. You've got news channels, including Al Jazeera, Beck News, Bloomberg, C-SPAN, Fox, Cheddar, CNBC. That's right. It is all here. Your headline news. Even InfoWars has made it into that lineup. You've got kids and family channels. They've got a plethora of music channels, movie channels, sports channels. And of course, all of these local networks, like I told you, it's pretty extraordinary what they offer. But here's what I think is going to be super cool, because one day I'm going to be right here. There's General Flynn's channel. He's on here. Jim Price. And of course, the little talk show, Brad Barton, who introduced me to this wonderful idea about a year ago. Well, they're up and running. And I can tell you right now, CUESTREAMING is where it's at. Get on over to free7777.mycuestreaming.com.
Looks like you've been sleeping well.
Megan, he's back. The My Pillow guy.
And you're looking good.
Still feeling good.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, we've got the best pillow ever, My Pillow 2.0. When I invented My Pillow, it had everything you'd ever want in a pillow. Well, now there's new technology that makes it even better. My Pillow 2.0 has my patented fill combined with a cooling fabric with temperature regulating thread. My Pillow 2.0 is truly the next generation of My Pillow.
Now's the time to go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use the promo code to save 50% on your My Pillow 2.0. Not only that, for a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free.
You're sleeping even better.
And cooler, too.
And you're looking good.
Feeling good.
I knew you would.
mypillow.com.
Protect your wealth. I trust Idaho Armored Vaults. Go to goldsilvervault.com, where Idaho Armored Vaults will fortify your wealth, invest in precious metals with confidence and security. And Bob Coleman is my go-to when it comes to investing in gold and silver. They'll either hold it in the Idaho Vault for you, or they'll ship it directly to your house. If you're interested in learning more, go ahead and give them a contact on their Contact Us page, or call them at 208-468-3600, 208-468-3600. You can email them at info@goldsilvervault.com, info@goldsilvervault.com. Hit their Contact Us page, fill out your name, email address, phone number, what your inquiry is about, and in the message, just tell them that Ann sent you. And you can use my promo code, AV.
There is no law, and to date, nobody has been able to show that there is a law for the average American citizen working day in and day out to pay an income tax.
But We the People Foundation for Constitutional Education put a full-page ad in the USA Today on July 7th, 2000. And within the body of that ad was a $50,000 challenge for anyone that could show the law. And to me, $50,000 is a lot of money. So I went after that and did the research based on the fact that I thought, let's put this baby to bed. I'm hearing all these rumors. I'm going to kill two birds with one stone. I'll answer these people's questions that are asking me, and then I'll win this $50,000. And, based on the research that I did throughout the year 2000 and that I'm still doing, I have not found that law. I've asked Congress, we've asked a lot of people in the IRS commissioners, helpers. They can't answer, because if they answer, the American people are going to know that this whole thing is a fraud.
There is no law that requires the average American worker in the private sector to pay a direct unapportioned tax on their labor and compensation for services. There is no law.
I really expected that, of course there's a law that you can point to in the law book, the code, that requires you to file a tax return. Of course there is. Maybe I don't know what it is right then as he was speaking to me, but sure. So naively, I agreed to go off and research it and get back to him. 3.5 months later, I was at that point where I couldn't find the statute that clearly made a person liable, at least not me and most people I know. And I had no choice in my mind except to resign.
I had to leave the IRS because I presented evidence that I had accumulated indicating that the agency was violating the law and violating people's rights. And I asked the agency for a response to my sincere concerns. And the answer I got was that they would not respond to my concerns and that they would provide me with the paperwork necessary to tender my resignation.
You can look through the statutes and look for the law that requires you to pay. And when you do that, you can't identify a law that requires the average person in America who earns a wage and works in private business to pay an income tax.
American citizens, along with the foundation, have been asking the IRS to specifically provide them with the underlying legal foundation upon which they administer and enforce the personal income tax laws in our country.
At the national level, when people would attempt to contact somebody of a much higher authority, say the commissioner, same kind of thing. They would get answers that were in effect non-answers.
You have to understand that an agency which will unlawfully impose a tax that doesn't exist is not going to care. If we, the people, don't know what our rights are, they're not going to tell us.
If Americans just learned that the IRS was actually knowingly deceiving them, that would be enough for them to rise up and put a stop to it.
100% of what is collected is absorbed solely by interest on the federal debt. All individual income tax revenues are gone before 1 nickel is spent on the services taxpayers expect from government. People have been told, that you need this income tax system to fund government, which is absolutely ridiculous. My question is, well, if that's true, how did we fund government from 1776 to 1913?
The main purpose of the income tax is not to raise revenue, but to redistribute wealth and to control society.
A lot of people might say, well, gee, if there wasn't an income tax, what would happen to education? They don't understand that education is paid for the most part, out of state and local taxes, your property tax. People might say, well, how are we going to build and maintain our highways? If there's no money coming into the government, we need our highways. There is a tax on every gallon of gasoline that people buy. Proceeds from the income tax do not pay for highway construction.
I believe that in both spirit and substance, our tax system has come to be un-American. Death and taxes may be inevitable, but unjust taxes are not.
This small booklet includes the Constitution of the United States, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence. This is a document that every citizen should read. It's a document which freed an entire nation. This is the Internal Revenue Code, and this document, and the unlawful application of this document by the Internal Revenue Service has enslaved the nation that this document attempted to free.
And don't forget to stock up on delicious pure beef protein. That's right, this ranch owned by veterans processing freeze-dried beef Slaughter small herds of delicious cattle free range, never before injected with that god-awful mRNA. LightsOutBeef.com. LightsOutBeef.com. Use your promo code ANN at checkout to save some additional money. But more importantly, save your family. Get them pure beef protein at LightsOutBeef.com. You will thank me later. Trust me, the supply chain interruptions are already here. LightsOutBeef.com. And while you're adding delicious beef, think about adding delicious plant-based protein and superfoods and a variety of other fantastic products over at Vandersteelhealth.com. Go ahead, hit Vandersteelhealth.com, get the promo code, and start shopping. Superfoods are shelf-stable, they are delicious, and they are pure plant-based protein. It's how I lost 22 pounds after COVID.